Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It was wonderful to have you on our last session. I hope that you guys learned a lot from Dr. Perez. I am thrilled to have Kelsey here to talk with us today. I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then I'm going to have her come on. She received her MSW at the University of Southern California and has been a LCSW since 2018. Kelsey currently works at the San Fernando Valley Community Health Center, Incorporated, a nonprofit agency where she is the birth to 5 specialist and Child-Parent Psychotherapy lead. Additionally, Kelsey has private practice where she integrates relational, developmental, and neurobiological-based treatment. She holds certificates as a child-parent psychotherapy provider and supervisor, infant massage instructor, and bringing baby home educator. Most recently, Kelsey has received endorsement from the California Center of the Infant, Family, and Early Childhood Mental Health as an infant, family, and early childhood mental health specialist, ages 0 to 5. Her presentation will involve a case example to support the discussion of how she successfully integrated infant massage to her work as an infant mental health specialist and how it contributes to positive outcomes when taught in conjunction with child-parent psychotherapy. So thank you so much for joining us. We're thrilled to have you.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me and inviting me to speak and share some time with all of you.
Of course. And she said that if you guys have questions throughout her presentation, to feel free and pop those in, and I'll bring them up as they happen. Enjoy, guys. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, thank you so much, Ashley, and welcome to everybody. I wish I could see you. It feels a little lonely being on the other side of a computer screen when I would love just to be able to share that physical space and see your faces and see the nods or see the confused faces. It gives me a little bit of feedback of either I need to slow down or speed up or clarify something. So please, 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 I want this presentation to be supportive, interesting, interactive, and engaging. So if you have questions, comments, even reflections or something that you feel would be meaningful to the discussion or helpful for you in your learning, please do not hesitate to interrupt. You can unmute, you can wave Ashley and to ask these questions as we go along. So yes, my name is Kelsey. I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, and which is where I practice both as a supervisor and trainer in a community mental health agency and also in my own private practice. And I'm going to be spending the next 50 minutes or so talking to you about how I've been integrating infant massage into specifically child-parent psychotherapy, which is CPP, although we can utilize it with all in a lot of treatments when we're working with the birth to 5 population. But that's what we'll be doing today. So making sure, yep, it changed. Okay, so here's a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to be giving you a brief overview of what infant mental health is, talking about infant massage and its relationship to infant mental health, infant massage in child-parent psychotherapy most specifically, and then we're going to end with a case example, and this is a real example that from my work that I think will be helpful in integrating some of the concepts that we're talking about this morning. And then hopefully if I don't talk too much, we have time for some reflections or questions, or us just to be thinking together about what this may look like, or what this may, how you may bring some of this back into your work. So I would love to know a little bit about who is in the room. I'll stop there. Who is in the room, just for me to kind of gauge my audience and who's here. And so it would be helpful if there's a couple of you. What do you do? What brought you here today? And how do you fit into this infant mental health community that we're in?
Postpartum doula.
Beautiful.
Sometimes they all came up at once. Working in early intervention as a PTA and running IM groups.
Beautiful.
I'm an early intervention specialist in Utah. Parent educator and infant massage USA infant massage instructor. Oh wow, a lot.
Yeah.
I am
two more just to kind of give me my bearings.
I am USA instructor and international trainer, development specialist, behavioral specialist, home visitor, parent educator.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Well, yes. Thank you all for being here and for all the work that you do. I'm sensing we have a wide array of specializations and casting a wide net of infant mental health providers. So I'm so happy that you're here and sharing the time with me today. So I like to start all of my trainings or teachings kind of grounding myself, and also hopefully grounding all of you in what I think is really significant and important when we're working in the infant mental health field, which is to be grounded in our diversity-informed infant mental health tenets. If you're not familiar with this is a wonderful initiative. I have the resource at the end of the presentation for you if you'd like to learn a little bit more. But this was developed by the Tenets Initiative with a vision that all systems of care will embed principles of equity, diversity, and inclusion into their work when serving infants, children, and their families. So I'm just going to read them very quickly, but thinking about, my hope is that this presentation and the work that I do and the work that we all do together are grounded in these tenets, which first and foremost is that self-awareness leads to better services for families. This is a call and, rallying cry for reflective supervision and reflective practice, that we work to champion children's rights globally. Right? We are an international organization and we are working within the world, and we want to be able to champion all children's rights, not just the ones in our intimate communities. That as infant mental health providers, we work to acknowledge privilege and combat discrimination, that we recognize and respect non-dominant bodies of knowledge, and by doing so, we honor diverse family structures, that we know and understand that language can be used to hurt or to heal, and how we engage with our families and support our families matters. And one of these ways that we can do this is supporting families in their preferred language, if that's possible. That we allocate resources to systems change. We make space and open pathways for diverse professions. And we advance policy that supports all families. So there's more on what these look like and how we can be doing this, and how, if you want to become a partner with the tenants in your organization, there's avenues to do so. So infant mental health, here we are. And I would love, again, I'm going to make you work a little bit. I would love to know anyone willing to share their definition of what infant mental health means to you, or how you see or explain what infant mental health is to people. And you can just put maybe a sentence in the chat if you feel so inclined or feel so brave. And I'll pause, I'll be patient, and I'll take a sip of water while we do that.
Secure attachment.
Beautiful.
An infant that feels safe, loved, and cared for.
Yes.
Secure, loving attachment. I'm seeing a theme.
I was just going to say, I feel the theme, feel it in my body. We are all, channeling. We're on the same page. We're speaking the same language. It's beautiful. Maybe one more.
Talking about attachment, responding, and attending to child's cues.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so here's 0 to 3's definition. Again, I have a link to 0 to 3 website if that's not something that you're familiar with. But I love this definition because it is so simple and yet so comprehensive. And so I'm going to read it aloud because I don't want to butcher it. Infant early childhood mental health is the developing capacity of the child from birth to 5 years of age to form close relationships. Here's that attachment piece. Manage and express emotions, and explore the environment and learn. So I kind of, these 3 categories that I see, right? Forming close relationships, secure attachment, feeling safe, right? Ability, I think someone said ability to regulate their emotions, right? Manage and express emotions, right? Babies do it, we know this. And explore the environment and learn, which is really focusing on their development. So when we think about infant mental health and how infant massage is integrated into this, it supports all of these things. And we are all infant mental health providers, whether we are home visitors, whether we're preschool teachers, whether we're doulas, whether we're psychotherapists, whether we're case managers, right? We are all working to support and nurture and foster the child's capacity to form relationships, manage their emotions, and explore the environment and learn. So this is why it's so important. This is why infant mental health matters, right? We know from research that children birth to 5 experience disproportionately high rates of abuse and neglect. Here in LA County, the highest percentage of children that are detained or removed from their biological families or placed into foster care, an overwhelming percentage, I think it's, it might be different now, but over 50% of the children that are detained are within the birth to 5 range. Think about what we know about brain development. We know that toxic stress damages brain architecture, right? That trauma and significant stressors disrupt the normal developmental trajectory, right? We know that babies who don't get this physical or consistent physical affection or the chance to build loving bonds don't receive the stimulation necessary to properly build the systems in the brain that connect reward and pleasure with those human-to-human interactions. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the brain architecture wired yet. They don't have those opportunities, which leads to these difficulties with cognitive and emotional integration. And then what that looks like when they finally get to infant mental health, a therapist or a provider, is that they have difficulties with attaching, right, with those relationships, with engaging in reciprocal interactions with caregivers, that they have affective and behavioral difficulties with affective and behavioral regulation. They're tantruming, they're crying, they're not sleeping, they're not eating, right? And later on, difficulties with self-concept and cognition. That's very intense and very heavy to be thinking about, and also a very sobering reality that we hold as infant mental health providers. But I also want to hold the other piece, which is that the effects of trauma and significant stressors are not irreversible, right? This is why the early intervention and the birth to 5 work is so meaningful and so exciting and so promising, because there's hope. That we know interventions that strengthen the child's primary caregiving relationships, it helps to support and restore the physiological balance, right? To build that resilience. I learned through my work in the first few years that, I would talk about this family or this child is so resilient, and I use it as a character trait. Like they're friendly, right? But knowing that resilience it's not a character trait, it's fostered, It's grown, it's strengthened, it's developed within the context of relationships. That this is something that we work to build. And the way we do this is through relationship. This is one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Bruce Perry, who is a psychiatrist. He's a clinician. He's a researcher, teacher for over 30 years. He's also the developer of the neurosequential model of therapeutics, which is an incredible, incredible resource that I also am trained in and would love to talk to anyone that's interested about at some point in a later date. But this is one of my favorite quotes, which is, relationships are the agents of change. And the most powerful therapy is human love. So again, no matter what your discipline is or what your background is, you are a therapist, right? Because you are in the work of supporting relationships and fostering and supporting love, which is the most powerful therapy there is. So, kind of getting a little bit more specific now. So we talked a little bit about infant mental health, and now we're talking about infant mental health and infant massage. So I think I made it clear, but I'm gonna keep saying it, keep repeating it, that infant massage is a part and is infant mental health. It is supporting infant mental health. I'm not going to go into the benefits in depth, but I put these out here because I wanted to link this back to our definition from 0 to 3, right? We know benefits of infant massage support interaction, right? Supporting the child and engaging all their senses, supporting and facilitating bonding with the hope of strengthening attachment, that secure attachment and that safety within the context of relationships, strengthening communication, trust, and respect. Right? This goes back to the first part of our definition, which is helping the child to form close relationships. We have stimulation. We know that infant massage helps with the muscle growth and coordination and digestion and helps with, immunity and this mind-body awareness. And this also supports this child's capacity to stay curious in their environment, to explore their environment, and to learn. Right. Relief, super important. I'm not glossing over it. If you're not comfortable in your body, if you are experiencing significant discomfort, you're not regulated, you're not relaxed, you're not wanting to be engaging in your environment, you're not feeling much joy of anything. So relief is super important. And it also supports this relaxation. And in the mental health world, we talk a lot about regulation, right? I know somebody talked about that before too, right? That this is supportive not only of a child's biological functioning with sleep, feeding, increased flexibility and muscle tone, reducing those stress hormones, but this is also what helps them to learn about how to express and manage emotions. That a dysregulated child is not going to be able to learn and receive information and engage meaningfully with their environment. So benefits of infant massage are kind of like bam, 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 right in line with the definitions from 0 to 3. So we think about how teaching infant massage and being a part of this wide dissemination of infant massage for families provides the opportunity for us, as infant massage educators, to teach parents and caregivers about how patterned, predictable, and consistent interactions promote recovery for these children. That's beautiful. So, we're infant massage educators, right? We talk about what we teach, what we educate, how we disseminate information. But I also am reverting us back to this, what Serena Wieder has shared with us, is that we don't teach development. We inspire development and activate it through relationships. So again, relationship is the most important vehicle. We think about your relationship with the families and children that you work with, to support the relationship with this caregiver, between the caregiver and the infant. Okay, so now we're getting in a little bit more specific. Again, while infant massage can be integrated into multiple evidence-based practices, which are, we can think about trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. Some of you are familiar with TFCBT. It can be integrated into MAP, which stands for Managing Adaptive Practice. It can be integrated and is a part of the neurosequential model of therapeutics developed by Bruce Perry. He recognizes the impact and importance of nurturing touch, right? That this is not solely used in child-parent psychotherapy, that it can be integrated into a lot of relationship-based therapies for young children. I am focusing on child-parent psychotherapy today. I am a child-parent psychotherapist, and I also am a child-parent psychotherapy supervisor. So I do support clinicians getting trained in the model and provide ongoing reflective supervision for those that are providing child-parent psychotherapy to children. And I'm focusing on this one today because it is so deeply ingrained in what child-parent psychotherapy is. And I think it's a beautiful vehicle for infant mental health providers to integrate infant massage into treatment. So before I talk about a few more specifics, for those of you that are not as familiar with what child-parent psychotherapy is, I'm going to give you a 30-second pitch. Child-parent psychotherapy is a psychodynamic-based therapy for young children, 0 to 5, can go up to age 7, but birth to 5 or perinatal, there's perinatal CPP as well, for children and their parents or caregivers. And the 3 main focuses of child-parent psychotherapy is supporting family strengths and relationships, right? Going back to strengths-based work, family-based work, which is in alignment with our diversity-informed infant mental health tenets. It helps families heal and grow after stressful experiences. Right? So this is a modality that is used for children or families that have gone through a significant stress or traumatic experience. And a huge part of CPP is making sure that the family and cultural values are respected and integrated into the work. If you can't tell, I love it. So CPP recognizes the importance of touch in healing, in treatment, in supporting children's development and health and well-being. They talk about it in one of their manuals as an integral part of the human experience, as we all know. It's critical for early development, right? We want to be thinking about the earliest and most essential forms for nonverbal communication is touch. We know that touch is about social and sensory stimulation. And we know, of course, that touch supports physical intimacy with a baby. So for children or families that have gone through a significant stressor or traumatic experience, one of the things that we want to be thinking about and holding is what is the quality of interactions and what is the history that this child has with touch? What is the meaning that they have associated with touch, right? Has touch been something that's been consistently offered to them? Nurturing touch been consistently offered to them, or has it been inconsistent? Is their relationship with touch that it's not safe or unpredictable? Is their template that touch is soothing or scary? We know the benefits of nurturing touch. And in CPP, they talk about this in their initial training, that touch promotes weight gain, less crying. It helps to lower the salivary cortisol levels, and it helps support more alert states in at-risk infants. For those of you that were attending Dr. Perez's presentation, this is something that is fresh in our brains of what an at-risk infant is, right? At-risk is considering in the definition that we are conceptualizing at risk, we're thinking about preterm infants that were born before 37 weeks, infants of depressed mothers or caregivers, infants with significant medical conditions, and substance exposed infants. So we are, again, very fresh in our brain of children that have been exposed to the opioids. So we think about what are the benefits for these children and their families. I want to be mindful that I am using the term mothers, specifically in this section, I recognize that not all caregivers and parents and birth-giving people identify with the term mother. I am using mother because this is what the current research is showing, and we don't have the research yet. I think there's another presentation where they were talking about it takes a few years for there to be research done, for it to be published and then integrated into practice. So we are not there yet, unfortunately. But wanting to acknowledge that mothers is not a widely used and comprehensive term. But here's what we do know, right? Infant massage improves the mood in depressed mothers. And when we think about the importance of what a mother or a caregiver's experience is leading up to the birth, following the birth, in the first few years of life of that infant, right? Their ability and their capacity to be attuned and attentive and responsive to their infant is fundamentally challenged when they are experiencing depression or they're experiencing their own mental health challenges. It increases maternal warmth, right? And this is not the blame of like cold refrigerator mothers or the reason why people have problems, right? That's not what this is talking about, but it's talking about supporting potentially depressed mothers that did not receive warmth and care and affection and attention themselves and don't have a template of how to engage with warmth, with nurture. This is giving them a template and giving them a restorative and reparative experience. And we also know that infant massage contributes to more positive affect in dyadic interaction, right? It supports this attentiveness. It supports the responsivity and the dyad's ability to engage in mutual delight, which we know is a building block of development for a child, right? That we want this interaction to not just bring, not just be a positive one, but we want it to bring joy for both the infant and the mother and the caregiver. So infant massage is an intervention. It's a beautiful intervention. And it's one that I am trying so deeply to disseminate and to support anybody in my that I supervise and oversee in my programs to be trained in, because it is such an incredible resource for our families, as we know. Right? I think about how it benefits those who are struggling with a caregiving role for one reason or another. I mentioned just previously, right, that there are some caregivers that were not nurtured themselves, that do not have an understanding of what that feels like. And so therefore it's really hard for them to offer it or to know that it is something that they can offer. It helps them to connect to that nurturing, caring, loving side of themselves. Additionally, with the information that we provide, there's some caregivers that are very nurturing and are very warm and have this ability and desire, but also don't know how to interact with the baby, right? That is just like, it's my first time with a baby. I don't have any experience interacting with infants. I don't really know what this looks like. What do I do with them? Right? Understanding the meaning of a crying, dysregulated child. Exploring the possible contributing factors to the behavior that is so dysregulating for them, to help them provide clear, consistent, predictable responses to their infant and their child. It also provides a framework for caregivers to feel safe touching or connecting with their baby. And again, for those that may not have don't have a relationship with touch, that is a positive one. That they do not have the experience or the trust that their body is respected and consent is provided. This is an opportunity for them to repair and to offer a different experience to their child. And a very clear and concrete way to connect with their baby if they are having difficulty. Having these concrete tools, I have found, really empowers caregivers to understand, like to build their self-efficacy, empowers them by their ability to understand what are their baby's cues. What is this nonverbal language that this child is trying to provide to me? And with them being able to respond with respectful listening and care, which in turn, as we know, builds the baby's capacity to receive pleasure from human connection, to build those brain pathways that solidify touch is good, touch is healing. My caregiver listens to me. I'm safe. I'm cared for. I matter. These are the building blocks of health and well-being and development. So I'm going to pause there. I've been talking a lot, and I wonder if anyone has any questions, reflections, thoughts that would be helpful before we kind of move into our last wave of the presentation that will take a little bit of time, but I'm really wanting to see if there's anything that anyone has to offer.
Amy David says, I found it difficult to find IFCHMH. I'm having difficulty even saying it.
So that stands for Infant and Family Early Childhood Mental Health Providers.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
For the families my program works with, there are very few providers in my county that work with children 0 to 3. The struggle is real.
Yes.
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 The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. And, when we think about just how great a need there is and how few resources we have, it can feel really daunting. And how to find people. Amy, just out of curiosity, where are you in the world? You say your county. I don't know where you are. One of the reasons why I ask is San Diego. Okay. Yeah. So you're in California. Reason why I ask is not to call you out, Amy, but to be thinking I am more familiar with California, and so there's a few potential resources that might be available in terms of how to find somebody. So the Endorsement, the California Center for Endorsement for Infant Mental Health, which is where I am endorsed as an infant mental health specialist, they do have a roster for all of California, and it's by county. And you can find a list of that on their website, and I can put that in the chat at the end. And I'm wary to go out of my presentation because it's going so smoothly that I don't want to ruin it. But I can put that in the chat, and there's a list of endorsed infant mental health providers per county that at least gives you a name, at least gives you a county as a way. An additional resource is on the Child-Parent Psychotherapy website, which I provided at the end of this presentation. They also have a roster of child-parent psychotherapists that you can search by county. And that's throughout the world. Doesn't mean that they are trained in infant massage, but they are infant mental health providers.
So this is Martha. She says, I work with 0 to 5 children, and I see the challenges with some caregivers who don't know what to do with infants. Yes.
Same. And this is a conversation about, from the very beginning, you hear a lot about like infant mental health, like why does my baby need therapy? Right? You get what are they going to do? You're going to sit them on your couch and talk, right? And this is where really familiarizing yourself and armoring yourself with the definition of what infant mental health is valuable. Mm-hmm. To be talking about forming relationships, managing and expressing emotions, even from when they are born, right? And exploring and interacting with their environment. And these are things that we can be doing together through play, through touch, through learning about you and your caregiving experiences and the challenges that you have, learning about what typical and atypical development is. It's beautiful.
Lauren says, I love the quote, we don't teach development. Can I use this?
Oh, yeah. Just as long as you give credit to Serena Wieder. It's not mine. I think it's beautiful. Absolutely.
Lynn
Yes.
says, all across our country, we do not invest in early childhood. We don't talk about it in broadcast, news stories, etc. I am a part of my state's Infant Mental Health Association. They rejected sessions of infant massage because they don't see the connection for social workers CEU. I keep trying, and it's frustrating that Infant Mental Health Association's conference planning committees do not see this as critical.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I can feel people's frustrations like bubbling up, right? It's like, whoa.
I know. And like I feel at home in this shared space with all of you of this passion of this is so important, right? Yeah, they're just a baby. They won't remember they're fine. You see, they're doing these things. And it is so important, this information to get out there of the importance of early childhood development and what happened. This is this is from Dr. Bruce Perry and his work. In his research. But what we know about brain development is that what happens in from conception to the age of 3, right? Stressors, positive experiences, right? These positive experiences, stressful experiences. What happens from conception to 3 has more impact on a person's life trajectory than what happens in the first 18 years.
Exactly.
We know this.
Mm-hmm.
We know this, right? And so this is why it is so important. This is why we should be talking about it in our, infant early childhood associations. Why we should be talking about this at the policy level. Why universal preschool should be a thing. Why I could go on and on and on and on about why infant massage should be taught to everybody that has a child or is giving birth to a child. Or
everyone on the rooftops with a megaphone, right?
Right. Like, get me on my soapbox, right? But I hear you all, and I share in the frustration with you, and I also am so grateful that the passion and the awareness is here because we just keep working, right? One relationship at a time is where we make change.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Lots of people are commenting.
Beautiful.
I don't even know which one to work or how much time you have for this.
Yeah. Keep going. I'm just gonna, let's share our passions and our thoughts with one another. And even though I cannot read all of them in real time at this point, I will go back if I can and share in that with you. But I want to make sure we finish kind of where we are going because we have a case example, and hopefully this will bring a little bit of hope to the end of the conversation. So this is a real case I've changed that I have worked with myself. I've changed names and a few details to protect anonymity, but I'm going to read it aloud and then we'll think a little bit about it together. Giselle is an 8-month-old Hispanic female. Giselle was detained from both of her parents at 6 weeks due to parents' use of methamphetamine while caring for Giselle and her older sister, who was age 7. There were additional reports of exposure to domestic violence between parents and frequent alcohol abuse, further contributing to emotional and physical neglect of the children. Giselle and her sister were placed with maternal uncle and aunt, and since their initial removal, the placement has been stable with aunt and uncle. Giselle was born at 36 weeks gestation and had a brief stay in the NICU. However, no other additional information was known to the caregivers at that time. At the time of referral for infant mental health services, Giselle presented with irritability, flat affect, and dysregulation. She would have long periods of crying that lasted over 25 minutes throughout the day, on and off, where Giselle would arch her back, grunt, and not respond to caregivers' efforts to soothe her. Additionally, her sleep schedule was inconsistent and feeding was a huge challenge for these caregivers. Giselle's primary caregiver, Elisa, who is a maternal aunt, is a 42-year-old Hispanic female with her own history of depression. Prior to the children being placed with her and her husband, the couple suffered 2 miscarriages and a stillbirth of their biological child. They have had no other children aside from Giselle and her sister being placed with them. Elisa expressed worries of Giselle's eating and sleeping, as well as her attitude and fussiness, which causes significant dysregulation and frustration for all family members in the home. Elisa reported feeling at a loss of how to help Giselle and resorted to putting her in front of the TV often as a last resort. Following an initial assessment and screening by me, mental health provider, which included the use of the Ages and Stages questionnaire and the Ages and Stages questionnaire social emotional. I can talk about that if that is helpful. Giselle was showing signs of a delay in communication, gross motor development, and her problem-solving skills. Treatment began with a child-parent psychotherapy provider who's also certified in infant massage. Okay, so before I move on, anyone have any questions or clarification or reflections about Giselle or Elisa? I'm making you work today, Ashley. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I don't think anybody has any questions.
Good. I gave you enough. That's important. Sometimes I miss something and I want to make sure that I'm not forgetting. So this case was rich. One of the things, maybe I'll stop here so I don't get ahead of myself. One of the strong impressions that I had when meeting Elisa and Giselle was such a well-intentioned caregiver, so in love with this child and so deeply disconnected and disempowered as her, in her role as a parent and caregiver. She had, like I mentioned, suffered significant loss in her and her husband's attempts to have their own children, and were placed with a baby and a 7-year-old with having no experience working or being a parent or spending significant amount of time with a child. Was client? Was she diagnosed? She was not. She was born exposed, and her brief stay in the NICU was, she was preterm. She was 36 weeks, and just to ensure, again, this is all we know, just ensure everything was okay, healthy breathing, but that she was not diagnosed. She did have later on a assessment for fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, which came back negative. But there were some concerns just due to her developmental delays that were identified within the 8 to 12 month range. Yeah. When I first met Giselle, she was not interested. She was very, quite irritable. Oftentimes I would meet with them before a feeding, before a snack, and we would do some infant massage strokes, and then we would have a snack, and she, even despite the efforts, would, throw her arm back, and caregiver would really try, but had a really hard time of knowing kind of what to do, right? Like somebody's comment before, like, what do I do with a baby? I don't know what to do. And, this meaning that she attributed toward Giselle of she has an attitude. We can think about just the lack of understanding of cueing and the needs of infants and a need of high risk or at-risk infants. However, the love and the intention was there. And so I had a really wonderful foundation to build off of. So with this information, I identified kind of these 3 areas of treatment using the child-parent psychotherapy model that, going back really well, very much aligns with the definition of infant mental health, right? Really wanting to focus on the attachment with Elisa, right? The desire was there, the capacity to, meaningfully engage with Giselle was impacted due to her own, again, feeling disempowered, her own depression, her own significant sense of loss, and also just feeling tired, having a baby and having a challenging baby, and also a 7-year-old that has gone through significant stressor and trauma as well. So really wanting to focus on building their attachment relationship as Elisa was the primary caregiver at home with Giselle all day, every day. We wanted to help support this decrease in her dysregulation, right? We want a regulated child to be able to explore her environment, to learn, to engage, to have joy in relationships, to be able to manage and express her emotions appropriately, and then also support that social emotional development. We do know that she was at risk. She was delayed at the time with problem solving skills, with her gross motor. It took her a while to crawl, to walk, to engage in her environment meaningfully. So what that looked like, we spent a lot of time doing infant massage strokes, teaching about cueing, teaching about, behavioral states in infants, educating on the power of touch, exploring Elisa's experience with touch and her level of comfort, right? And building these moments of mutual engagement between the two of them that didn't involve Elisa trying to shush, it's okay, right? But to listen to her, or kind of giving up and putting her in front of the TV so she can have a moment, right? But how do we build these moments of mutual engagement, shared joy to strengthen this attachment relationship and sense of safety and security that Elisa can be the bigger, wiser, stronger, and kind caregiver that Giselle needed? Through infant massage, again, we were able to support the attunement between Elisa and Giselle, right? To support Elisa's ability to be attentive in her caregiving, and also building her co-regulation, right? One of my favorite parts of infant massage is, first asking for permission and laying of the hands, but also taking a pause as the provider of the infant massage to take a deep breath and connect with where you are, right? And Elisa did not realize just how tense and how tense and wound up is kind of how she was until she allowed herself to pause and take a deep breath and connect with herself, which then in turn allowed her to connect with Giselle. Finally, right, with social emotional development, again, this is a theme that I talk about a lot. Shared joy, right? Talking about how do we find that joy between the two of them. And 8 months, she was starting, as soon as she started to feel more regulated, she got very curious about her environment. The TV was off and we introduced new toys. And one of her favorite things to do, originally when she was upset, she would kind of hit her head or bang on a surface, in addition to arching her back. And we taught her head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And, she wasn't speaking, but she knew. And so that's very soon associated with me showing up is singing time. And so she would look at me, and by the end, she would put her hands on her head, and Elisa was able to pick that up of oh, you want to sing? And we were able to sing. And seeing her connect of, when we got to the toesies and talk about her little piggies and how cute they were and how we wanted to munch them. And all these things brought so much delight to Giselle, but also to Elisa, which then in turn created that stimulating environment, which then in turn helped her to support her growth and her development and her ability to expand her world. So at 12 months, after about 4 months, of providing infant massage in addition to child-parent psychotherapy, we saw some really significant change. Giselle decreased her crying spells from 3 to 4 times a day, which was the initial report from Elisa, and I think that was a little bit of an under-report, to about 1 time a day. I mean, usually when she was hungry or tired, which is totally understandable. I feel the same way. Giselle settled into a regular eating and sleeping schedule. Giselle was in typical range in areas of gross motor and problem-solving skills, which was so exciting. And Giselle and caregiver learned how to play with each other. The TV was turned off, and we were learning about shapes and colors and, singing songs together. And Elisa expressed a greater joy in being a parent and identified herself as a parent just after those 4 months. I'm a mom. She is moving towards adopting Giselle and her sister, which is beautiful. And so she really was able to integrate and really feel that role as caregiver, as parent, as mom. And She reported a sense of competence in her caregiving. At the beginning, she didn't want to take her out because she was scared of if she would cry, or if, what it would feel like, or if she would be too overwhelmed if she was at the grocery store and Giselle had a big meltdown. And by the end, we went to the market today, and then we went for a walk, and we're going to go to this toddler class that I provided as a resource. And so there was just so much growth in the both of them. That was such a beautiful pairing between holding this parent, holding Giselle, and also holding them together as a dyad, as a team, as a family. So I'm looking at the time, and I want to think about anyone offering a moment to reflect. Any questions or thoughts about Giselle, or what we did, or what that looked like, or thoughts or wonderings that would be helpful for us as we close out our time?
Mary had a question asking, is there a specific resource you use to teach infant states and baby cues?
Ooh, a specific resource.
We do teach it in our Infant Massage USA classes.
Yes. I'm like,
so
I'm trying to think of outside the box. Yes, we do teach that in infant massage, and we, there are beautiful illustrations and ways that are taught. I'm going to show you really quickly. I'm going to stand up for a second. I should have had it next to me. But Mary, since you asked, I love these baby cues, a child's first language, and they're these wonderful little photo cards that kind of talk about what this may mean. Right? Hand to stomach, I'm unsure, or I might be taking a bit of a break. So you can help me slow down. Give me a minute to figure things out. Wait, watch, follow my lead. Right? Yawning. This baby may need to take a break, or I may need to take a nap. You can help me by end or change what we're doing. Think about if I do need to take a break or a nap. Right? So they kind of give you some cool things. So like, I love these. I think they're really helpful because I think sometimes having a visual in addition to using just these natural opportunities with the children, I think, if you spend time with the children and caregivers, there are these natural opportunities to kind of think about, what do you think is coming up right now for your infant? What might be underneath that arch or that squeal? So I think we can go to our infant massage training, we can use visuals, we can use these natural opportunities. Sometimes it can be, depending on how each caregiver learns or each caregiver is responding to the information, we kind of tailor to what their needs are. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kelsey, for coming and speaking today. You gave I loved the case study. I loved it. I knew I would like it, but I loved it. So thank you for sharing that. And you had some really beautiful quotes that I think that people will use going forward. And that information is key, right? Like, let's get the information out there, right? And we have many people saying thank you so much. I used a different resource, but I'm always looking for alternatives. Beautiful story. It makes me think of this session that was just presented about epigenetics, positive and healing touch. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much. And just letting everyone know that we will be sharing her slides with the ticket holders. And we'll also have a replay of this. So if you missed little parts of it, you can watch it again. And yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
It has been such a pleasure spending this time and sharing space with you. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or want to connect. I love expanding my own community as well. And again, thank you for all of the work that you do.